As the second model in Marin's range of mountain bikes that uses the Naild R3act to play suspension system, the brand new Mount Vision has a lot to prove following the Wolf Ridge's rocky reception. Back in 2017, BikeRadar's technical writer Seb Stott tried out Marin's Wolf Ridge bike. Seb found that the bike had some characteristics that badly affected the ride. Has Marin gone back to the drawing board and successfully fixed all of these problems that Seb highlighted? The latest iteration of the Mount Vision sports 150mm of rear-wheel travel, and Marin claims that the bike is best suited to all mountain and enduro riding. I think it would be fair to say that this bike has a rather unique aesthetic. However, I think you'd be a fool to judge this bike entirely on its looks. On paper, the latest Mount Vision looks like a highly capable bike. There are 3 models in the Mount Vision range with sizes from small to extra large. For the size large bike that I rode, it's got 420mm long chainstays, a 65-degree head angle and a 75.1-degree virtual seat tube angle. The 65-degree head angle is pretty slack for a bike with 150mm of travel. It's not extreme by any means, but you know, it's there. The size large also has a 471.5mm reach and 1,213mm long wheelbase. A particularly nice touch on all of the bike's pivots is that they feature a small plastic cap that helps keep dust and water and grime out of your bearings. The swing arms also got an integrated rear fender. This is because of the slider's location on the Naild R3act to play suspension system. The fender helps keep crap out. Now this is an important piece of kit on this bike because the use of this fender is integral to Marin upholding the bike's warranty should anything happen to the frame in the long run. At the heart of Marin's new Mount Vision is the Naild R3act to play suspension system that I keep going on about. Marin claim that this suspension system is designed to isolate rider weight shifts under acceleration from the bike's ability to absorb bumps. The idea of this suspension system is to eliminate pedal bob whilst retaining suspension compliance. To do this, the slider, as Marin have dubbed it, which is the shaft that connects the swing arm to the front end of the bike, extends with an equal and opposite force to the rider's rearward and downward movement as you accelerate. The slider is a neutrally or atmospherically pressurized tube that uses a 41mm diameter stanchion. The slider is a sealed unit that has a small amount of lubrication oil inside it to keep things running smoothly. It has no damping and no spring inside it, so there is no resistance to compression or extension. There's a small bleed nipple on one of the drive side pivots that's attached to the slider that means you can equalize the pressure to the atmosphere. Thanks to the bike's inherent suspension kinematics, it means that you can run little to no compression damping. This is relatively unusual because on most bikes you want to run some compression damping to help manage rider weight transfer and absorb bumps as efficiently as possible. Seb found that the Wolf Ridge that shares the same suspension system to the Mount Vision had a lot of lateral flex between the front and rear ends of the bike. Marin have added an additional link that controls the rear shock to help improve stiffness. I rode the Mount Vision 9, which is the middle of the range model. Spec highlights include a Fox 36 with a Grip 2 damper, which includes both high and low speed rebound and compression damping. There's a metric trunnion Fox X2 rear damper mounted to the bike that's only got low speed compression and rebound damping, not that you'll need them according to Marin. The bike's got Stan's Sentry Mark II 32mm internal width rims wrapped in WTB Trail Boss 2.6-inch wide tyres. This model has got a pick and mix selection of SRAM's X01, GX and Descendant Eagle drivetrain parts, and it's got Shimano's XT 4-piston brakes. There's a KS Lev Integra dropper with 150mm of travel for the large and extra large bikes, or the same dropper with 125mm of travel for the small and medium bikes. I was lucky enough to ride the new bike in Massa Marittima, which is in the gorgeous Tuscany region of Italy. Thanks to the highly varied and really long but flowy and fun trails, it was possible to push the new Marin Mount Vision right up to its limits. I'll openly admit I really struggled to make the connection between how Marin was saying it worked and how it felt on the trail. Despite coming close to a nuclear meltdown, I did manage to rack my brains around it in the end. Initial impressions count for quite a lot, and luckily for this bike, the first time I swung a leg over it was on a climb. The bike pedalled with exceptional prowess. There was barely any suspension bob, and whilst I was climbing, I was really surprised to see that the rear suspension was working very hard to iron out all of those little bumps. Generally speaking, if a bike's got a super solid pedalling platform, when you're pedaling and when the drivetrain is under tension, it's going to struggle to absorb bumps. This is why the Marin impressed me right out of the gate, because it was able to absorb those small bumps. However, if you're feeling particularly lazy and don't shift or move your weight whilst you're sitting over slightly bigger bumps, the bike does lose this magic carpet feel. It becomes more akin to a VPP feeling bike. The suspension will bog down slightly if you're being lazy. I felt like the overall feeling the bike gave me when descending was very calm and settled. Even with brazen and careless line choice, the bike struggled to become unstuck, and it really didn't feel like it was out of its depth. That's to say, the bike isn't especially playful or poppy as a distinct characteristic. It does though mean that if you want to lark around and have a bit of fun on the trail, it's entirely possible because the chassis is so neutral. Seb found that the Wolf Ridge had problems with flex, which caused the suspension to bind up in certain scenarios. Fair play to Marin. I found that this bike with the new extra link didn't suffer from these same issues, even when pushed hard through turns or across cambers. There was no steering vagueness, and I found that the bike tracked true exactly where I wanted it to go. No bike is perfect, and I did find a few issues with Marin's Mount Vision 9. The WTB Trail Boss tyres were a bit of a red herring out on the trail. I did notice that once I got up to speed, I was struggling with flat turns. There was a real knife edge of grip and no grip. This was down to the tyre's incredibly square profile. I was lucky enough to try a different set of tyres on the bike, and once I'd swapped out the squarer tyres for a rounder profile one, there was a marked difference. And I would recommend that those looking to buy this bike consider changing the tyres right away. It's certainly worth noting that the bike's inherent suspension kinematics are best mated to a top-of-the-line fork damper. With such a supportive rear end that's incredibly capable, if you match them to a lower spec fork damper, it's likely that it would get overwhelmed and disrupt the overall ride characteristic. I rode the Marin Mount Vision 9, which is the middle of the range model and costs £6,500 to buy. It includes the Fox Grip 2 damper, which I think is actually quite an integral part to how this bike rides. In my opinion, apart from needing a top spec damper to get the most from this bike, it's an incredibly high performing bike that eats bumps for breakfast, lunch and dinner. What do you think of Marin's new Mount Vision? Is there too much going on? Does it sanitize the trails? Is it making it too easy? Or is this something you look for in the way a bike rides? Let us know what you think in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.